Racism remains the great cancer of American society, and we are a long, long, long way from being a post-racial society. And my own estimation is maybe none of us will ever see that, but we can come closer to it. You and I live in a nation with vast and unfulfilled promises of pluralism, a nation where discrimination is not yet infrequent, where millions of people still do not have an equal opportunity for their fair share of reward and responsibility. And each of us, I would argue, is to some extent a prisoner of our own biases. Most often the faith or color or gender or nationality we know the most about is obviously our own. We build our biases on what we have seen, what we have experienced, what we have been told, what we have read or learned. But too often, in my estimation, we've not learned enough to accumulate the wisdom to challenge our own prejudices. And that each of us must struggle all our lives with the human tendency to feel most comfortable with people like ourselves. We're in a particularly painful time today. The American people, it seems to me, are in a great eye-gouging, ear-deafening wrestling match for the American soul. And that is reflected most obviously in the current presidential campaign. In my lifetime, I've never seen more hatred and anger than now, aided and abetted, in my estimation, by short attention spans, and much of the media who have figured out you can make a hell of a lot of money by crapping on other people, and that's about it. An extraordinary amount of American anger, if we are honest with ourselves, has to do with racism. Racism much more nuanced than it once was, but nonetheless palpably ugly and deeply destructive of the Republic and those who dream of a better America with the wisdom and the decency to embrace everyone's chances to succeed. I told you I read a lot of history. History teaches us that while people are of goodwill are central to vision, that in fact goodwill is not the central driver of progress. Real progress requires pushing and shoving and urging and cajoling and coaxing, and then pushing some more courteously when you can, otherwise, if that doesn't work. For anyone here who thinks that the suffrage and the Social Security and Medicare and the civil rights and the feminist movements came to pass because good people came to their senses and decided to do the right thing by humankind, I would encourage you to read a lot more history. We also need to remember that what seemed radical at one time in our history in this ever-evolving country ultimately became, over time and after struggle, what so many of us see as basic and decent and fundamental to an America that lives its justice. With the exception of science and medicine, progress can never come, in my estimation, without struggle. It needs to be personal as well as group struggle. As each of us musters the inner wisdom and fortitude to confront ourselves, the very deepest learning comes to pass.